how would you go about having gratitude for someone that doesn't even know anything about gratitude?
Let me do it, because
Okay.
to me, gratitude is an organic occurrence when you are sanctifying. I mean, I
Mhm.
have something called the Succession Seven. And the reason that I actually made the Succession Seven is because people are like, there is no way to happiness. Happiness is the way. And it's like, but what if you're not grateful? If you're not grateful, you're probably not happy. And if you're not happy, you're probably not being kind. And so, and then if you can make all of your creative endeavors and your contributions to the world that comes organically from kindness, because you're trying to be kind, you'll come up with new solutions. And that's why creativity, newness is the last step in the Succession Seven. And kindness comes when you're happy. And happiness comes when you're grateful. And grateful comes if you recognize that everything is happening for you, not to you, and that that's not a philosophical statement, that that's a truism. And when you're really at that place that everything's happening for you, not to you, meaning that you're sanctifying it. Like if something is showing up, it has a purpose, and you can actually attribute that purpose. And we call that storytelling, that you get to anoint, you get to like delegate what the purpose is. And then if you're really, really good at coming up with the purpose, which is what sanctification is, or part of it, then organically you're grateful. Now you're grateful for it, because before you were almost like competing with it. You were feeling like something's wrong or this is bad. It's hard to be grateful when you're not sanctifying. But when you're sanctifying something, meaning you're recognizing that everything has a purpose and a reason and a meaning, and that it's integrous and it's right on time, then and only then, when you're really doing that well, can you organically, and you will be organically grateful for it because you're doing it well.
What if they say I can't sanctify?
I appreciate you playing that devil's advocate, but the reality is there's a difference between saying I can't sanctify and I'm unwilling to learn how to sanctify. Now that's a big
I
difference. Yeah, and what I would say is that organically you're not wired up to want to learn how to sanctify, but if you're serious about learning gratitude and how to be grateful, then this is an essential step. So how serious are you in wanting to be grateful? And wanting your gratefulness to be organic, to be genuine, to be real, to be authentic, to be true, to be integrous, to be honest. If you want your gratitude to be honest, then you're going to delve into this amazing world of sanctification. Hmm. And we broke up sanctification to 7 steps. I mean, I'll go through it real quickly. And it's like the first thing you want to do is prepare for unconditional welcoming. Like really, really, really be ready to welcome anything. Meaning then if you're really prepared to welcome anything, then when anything shows up, you don't have a reaction like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. But if you're not prepared to unconditionally welcome, you might be like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. But if you're going, I am prepared to unconditionally welcome anything, then something where you would normally have a negative reaction, you're like, welcome. Now, because you're welcoming it unconditionally, you're maintaining your optimal level of functionality. So once you got that, then we go into meet and greet. And so what that is you meet what's coming, right? And you because right now, a second ago, you were unconditional, you were prepared for unconditional welcoming. You were ready to welcome anything that shows up. Well, now you're meeting what's showing up. That's meet. And then you greet it, like you welcome it specifically. But before it was unconditional welcoming, ready for anything. Now it's unconditional welcoming to what it is, what you've met. You've met it, and then you greeted it. And then the real work comes with, from that point, where you actually interview it. Like, how can I serve you? You're right on time, all of that stuff. And you go through this interview process. And the interview process can be like, you ask so many questions to it and you get the answer. And we call them a pass. So if you ask, hey, can I support you today? And their answer is yes, that's considered one pass. And you, well, how can I support you today? And they might say, I don't know. And it's like, oh, would you like me to help you with your awareness so that you would know? That would be nice. okay, are you really interested in developing your awareness? Well, if you say so. Well, is there anything I can do to help you be more organic to want to develop your awareness? I don't know if I'm really interested in developing my awareness. Okay, well then what if we don't develop your awareness? Why are you here then? I don't know. I didn't ask to be born. It's like, okay, you sound like Eeyore. Is there a reason? Yeah, everything sucks. It always does. Nothing works out well. Don't even know why I'm here. Oh, it sounds to me as though you've lost hope. Would you like to have some hope? I don't see why. I don't see the point. Because, like, you keep on
Yeah.
going, and I'm making it really hard for a
Mhm.
reason. Because when you're doing the interview process, that's what being present really is. And you want to be as present for as long as you can. And then when you're like, okay, so you don't want to work on hope, how would you like about working on acceptance that things just suck? Well, that would probably be good, just to accept that things just suck. That would probably be good. Oh, I think that you're really willing to work on that. So what do you say if we work on acceptance? Okay, I'll really work on acceptance. And then you go into the vow, which is the next thing. So it's preparation for unconditional welcoming, then meet and greet, that's 2 and 3. And then 4 and 5 is the interview and the vow. And the vow is simply where you say, okay, I got your back. This is what we're going to do. And you make a vow to what you're going to do. That vow ends up being a standard that you hold for yourself. You're actually, we love that terminology, like you're shooting the arrow and then hanging on. So you're saying, this is what we're going to do. I got your back. We're going to get this. We're going to do this very well. And after you've made your vow, like almost like your marriage vows, like we got this, I got your back, we're good. Then the last 2 steps are what we call assess and address. And assessing it is where you get into the storytelling element of it. And it's like you yourself have to go, well, why do I think this is happening for him? Like, what's the purpose? And see if you can really assess whatever story you come up with, because that's a huge part of sanctification. And if you can say, well, this is obviously the reason why this is happening, and it really is of a high reason, not like, well, it's happening
Mm.
because you're really dumb or because he sucks or life is hard, and that's why this is all happening. No, it's happening because it's helping you it's helping you grow, and it's helping you become more present to life and emerge. And if you start saying all of that, it feels really good. It's swirlful, it's light. That's why it's up here, as opposed to, well, this is happening because life is just hard. You're just going to have to accept that life is hard. It's like, yeah, but there's a reason why you have to accept life is hard, right? And it's like, well, I don't know what that reason is. Yeah, but you'll discover it, and in its time, not your time. You'll figure it out. Well, I hope so. Well, why don't we just do an independent case study and we'll find out if it's true or if what I'm saying is just a bunch of crap, Okay, let's start. So that's the assessing. And then the addressing is when you embody the solution. And that's when we start getting really into archetypes, like which version of you, which brain state, which tool in the human toolbox would be the best to handle this job. And then you give yourself permission to, I love the alchemist's blip, to just, change into that archetype, into that brain state. And then the brain starts to rewire to take on that archetype, that role for that hat that you're wearing. And then once you're in that archetype that's masterful for whatever it is that you're assessing, that you're addressing, excuse me, then you discover how that archetype does it, which is really cool. And so that's the ultimate in sanctification. So I'll recap: preparing for unconditional welcoming, meet and greet, interview and vow, and then assess and address. And if you can play with that and really start to unpack that and really have a relationship where those words are making sense and you're giving yourself permission to dive deep into these ideas, you find out they're a lot more than just ideas. They become very, very powerful resources. So there you go.
Thank you.
You're
That makes a
welcome.
lot of sense. I mean, breaking it down and just the welcoming and how is this I mean, what is whatever's happening to me today? Why am I the one that's chosen? There's a reason for that. And
Absolutely.
instead of cursing it, just saying, okay, well, this was brought into my life for a reason. Now let me see what the reason is. I mean, even if I can't discover it today, let me just keep my eyes open to see, how this is going to change my life.
And it will. And the idea is not just change it, it's going to enhance it if you
Right.
allow it to. If you go, everything is happening for a reason, and it's happening for my unconditional emergence. And all I got to do is get on board to make it as smooth and as comfortable and as effortless and as easy as it possibly could be. And you know that that is true because you've test drove it, right? Just you can start going, I hear Mariquita or Dr. Michael saying these things, and I'd like to believe it, but I don't know. And then you take it out for a test drive, and then you go, wow, everything they said is 100% true. It works exactly the way he laid it out. It's like, that's humbling, right? It holds up that well.
Well, that's very helpful. I mean, all the little steps, because I feel like sometimes I think that's again speaking over people's heads. I mean,
Right.
we're just to break it down into small little accessible bites.
Well, let me give it to you because honestly, when I came up with the Succession Seven and I would lay it out, I haven't covered the first two. So let me start with that. And there's actually the one before even we start, which we say stop before you even start, which is not even in the Succession Seven. We call it the 0 point, right? Before we even get to number one, you got to stop before you even start, because the stopping actually clears the mechanism. It actually resets the system. The idea is to empty out all the noise so that the person who's doing all of this, listening, responding, is doing it from a clear place. And stopping really helps clear things. And so we start with stopping. And
Mhm.
then once we're finally stopped, and I have a great meditation on it, and it's on YouTube, on the Thrivapeutics YouTube page. It's active stopping, which is really cool. And we have stopping for the sake of stopping, and this 21-minute meditation really helps you stop, and it's really wonderful. So if you get a chance, check that out. But then we go into the first step, which is mindfulness. And of course, you want to be mindful, because mindful is like awareness in action, as Amala says, which is really true. And the idea here is, if you're going to be mindful, and you say mindfulness is really important, meaning conscious, meaning I'm going to be present for real, and I'm going to do this from my clear, stopped place, then the first step after mindfulness, which is step two, is ease, which means let it be easy, which almost means like let it be organic, let it be fun, let it happen lightfully, delightfully, you know, let it be easy. And that's a really important standard. You don't want to sacrifice these things. You don't want to sacrifice stopping, because then everything you're doing is through your noise. You don't want to not do it mindfully, because then you're doing it recursively, habitually, and you're going to get the same results. And then once you start the process, you don't want to do it with a lot of efforting, because even if you're successful, then you got to repeat a lot of efforting, a lot of struggling. So the idea is to learn how to do it with ease. And so once you get those points, then you get into what the first step where the rubber hits the road, and that's sanctification. And then when you sanctify and you do it well, then organically you're grateful. And when you're organically grateful, then you're organically happy. And if you're organically happy, then you're organically kind. And if you're organically kind, you're organically creating new solutions and strategies and making your unique contribution even more felt. And when I laid that out, for the first bunch of years, I had a lot of people stop me and say, sanctification, can you explain that? And I saw that people were having real interesting like times trying to process sanctification. So I broke it up into 7 steps. And that's what we just covered. Preparation for unconditional welcoming, that 0 point, right? And then you're doing unconditional welcoming is the first step, right? And then meet and greet, 2 and 3. And then the interview and vow, 4 and 5. And then assess and address, 6 and 7. Well, now that I'm sharing this, it seems to me what people are getting tripped up on is the interview portion. The idea of how many passes does it take? How many times you have to ask questions and get a response before you're ready to go, okay, I'm ready to handle this now. I can move on to the vow. So just make peace with that interview process and let it be as long as it needs to be for you to feel like you really understand what's going on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Good. Any questions at all?
No, I mean, that really helps because if I'm making these lead magnets, that gives a lot of tools, like one lead magnet could be Succession 7. Then
Mm.
another one could be just on archetypes.
Oh, that's
you know?
beautiful. Let me go into that, because archetypes are brain states, but they're the hats we wear. They're the roles we play. They're the tools in our toolbox. It's the how we address certain situations, because we can address it in this brain state, in this archetype, in this version of us. Maybe one is more defeatist mindset like Eeyore, or we can do it in a very optimistic, way. What I'm seeing a lot recently is when people are taking action, they're usually doing it in a very pushy kind of way, almost like not respecting the timing of something, like wanting it to go more quickly than it would organically go. And although there is some wisdom in perhaps leaning toward a level of greater efficiency, it's a very slippery slope where all of a sudden, if you're really successful while you're pushing, you're constantly pushing. And that really competes with the silence, with the stopping and the wisdom that comes in the stopping, because you're so busy pushing, you're actually disconnected from the awareness of what your recipe for successes would be. If you were letting it be easy, you're not learning how to do it through ease. You're learning how to be successful, but only when you're pushing, only when you're efforting. And there is a degree of efforting, of work, of energy needing to be expended. But like Goldilocks, this is too much energy. This is not enough energy. This is too much pushing. This is not enough pushing. And then the ultimate goal as keepers of the balance is that this is just right.
That makes a lot of sense because I see people pushing, and then they're unaware of it. They're pushing this way, but then they're pushing something away that's right there in their hand, because
Hmm.
they're not valuing what's here.
You said something, they're not aware of it. They're not aware of it when they're actively pushing, but when you tell them they're pushing, they go, "Oh yeah, I'm a pusher." They may not realize a second ago that they were just doing it, but when you tell them that they're pushing, then they are aware of it and they go, "Guilty. Yep, I'm a pusher." So they're not really unaware, they're just unaware at the time. Like, if unaware to me is going, "Well, you're a pusher," and they'll go, "No, I'm not." That never happens. When they go, "You're a pusher." "Yeah, I'm a pusher." And now they can not be a pusher in the
Yeah.
moment because they know they're a pusher, and then they can start working more cooperatively with uncovering their recipes for success, doing it with ease.
Yep, with ease. That's the key. I mean, that's the key. Like if it's really difficult, like you're saying, if it's hard, you're not doing what is it? If it's not easy, you're not doing it right, like you say.
Perfect. That's it. And that's why we make that the standard of mindfulness. Like, if you're going to be mindful and yeah, I want it to be mindful. Okay. Well, if you want it to be mindful, then it has to be easy. Because if you're losing ease, then you're losing your mindfulness. Now we got to go back to mindfulness. I want to be mindful. Well, then it's going to be easy. Then you have to allow it to be easy. You got to let it be easy. You got to stop efforting so much. You can effort a little, like work a little, like move a little, but not to the point where it's clearly pushy. Well, this was a nice little session.
It was very helpful because I'm going to go in there and do some more work and really kind of break things down. So that gives me a lot of great ideas, for people that are struggling and don't even know where to start. I mean, knowing that the stopping is the start.
Well, you know what? You could look up Succession 7
Mhm.
and see if there's any resource that's available there. I know that there is a bunch of different Succession 7 resources out there. One of them is like a Prezi presentation. There's many videos that I've done
Yeah,
where
on
I
YouTube.
cover the Succession 7. Exactly. Some are videos of radio interviews that I've done, and some are just nice animated videos that I've made. And I think that that's great for you to find the ones that you think are really helpful. And then you can share them with people, the links, right?
Yeah.
And then also, we're starting to put out the Sanctification Seven, which is really important because that's where people get tripped up in the Succession Seven. But at least if they know
Oh,
the Succession Seven first, then they can, really start that process of when they get to sanctification, which is right after ease, then, they can begin to really delve into that's such an important element because, like I said, after sanctification, the other of all the following steps, the other four are all organic. If you're sanctifying, you're going to be grateful. If you're grateful, you're going to be happy. If you're happy, you're going to be kind. I love it. And if you're kind, your microphone's going to fall, your camera's going to take a dive. But you get it. I mean, I'm probably killing it, but I mean,
I want you to kill it because I'm going to have to explain it in detail to people, to those folks that just have no idea where to start.